Good evening. Happy Friday. How's everyone doing? It's February 28th, last day of the month. Turn the corner tomorrow. We've got March, and we've got a nice handful of spring trainings in the books for your Los Angeles Dodgers. Win-loss record doesn't really matter right now. What truly matters is how certain players are performing. We've got a tight race between some starting pitchers right now as they're vying for that last rotation spot. We'll get into that. This is Kevin Klein doing a spontaneous solo Friday night Incline Dodgers podcast episode. We are presented by Tick Pick and Fansided. As people start to roll into the chat, we definitely welcome you to ask any questions. We're going to make this a more interactive Q&A tonight. So any Dodgers questions that are at the tip of your tongue, feel free to drop them below in the chat, and I will make sure to answer any questions you guys have for me. I want to make sure that we cover the content that you guys want to hear. If you're going to be listening to the audio podcast feed, you'll get the Derek Carty ESPN fantasy baseball interview in the tail half of this episode. For those watching on YouTube, you can find that episode, which was recorded with Derek Carty earlier in the week, as we talk about some Dodgers fantasy baseball. He gives some really good exclusive tips of how to approach your fantasy baseball drafts this upcoming season. And of course, we go through all the Los Angeles Dodgers starting pitchers and hitters and talk some Shohei Ohtani, Roki Sasaki, Tommy Edman, you name it, Teoscar Hernandez. We got a good episode, and we're going to get to your guys' questions and all of that shortly. The Los Angeles Dodgers defeated the Angels. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim is what I will always refer them to, because they are an Orange County team, and they're not a Los Angeles team. We got to start with the big bat, though. Shohei Ohtani made his Cactus League debut for the Dodgers in 2025, and this guy is not human. In Shohei Ohtani fashion, he hits an opposite field home run off Kikuchi in his first at-bat of the 2025 spring training campaign for a solo home run. Shohei Ohtani is not human. We are expecting big and exciting things for Shohei Ohtani for the Los Angeles Dodgers this upcoming season. I already laid down a bet. I'm running it back. I think Shohei Ohtani is going to win the National League MVP for the Dodgers yet again. I think he's going to have a massive season as a starting pitcher. Not expecting 200 innings, maybe not even 150 innings, but I think Ohtani gets between 100 and 120 innings. And if he posts an ERA in the low threes and puts up 30 to 40 home runs, it's going to take a very, very strong case for another opposing player in the National League to snatch that MVP award away from Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani is the best player in baseball. He's doing things for the best team in Major League Baseball, and they just won a World Series. Shohei Ohtani is the definition of most valuable player. So I'm excited to see what Ohtani does for the Dodgers this upcoming campaign in 2025. But I love that in his first at bat, he goes yard. You get the Jeff Passan tweet. You had Bob Nightingale write about it already, because Bob Nightingale was in the house. Everyone's stoked about Shohei Ohtani, who had to miss the first few games of spring training as he was recovering from that offseason shoulder surgery and his non-throwing shoulder. He looked healthy tonight. The swing was in Ohtani form. And if we go back to last season, even Ohtani got off to a slow start during the regular season campaign. He didn't even hit a home run in Korea. Took him a few games as well. Then he finally went deep against the Giants. And they ended up finishing with over 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. So no need to panic with Shohei Ohtani. Even last season, there was a whole narrative out there that he wasn't clutch and he couldn't really hit with runners in scoring position. And he put that to bed, especially in the second half. He just went completely nuclear, was starting to drive in everybody. Had that massive 10 RBI game in Miami against the Marlins, where he pulled off a captivating performance and was able to do the first that no one else had ever done. 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases in a season. Just an incredible day. One that I don't think Dodger fans are ever going to forget about Shohei Ohtani. So big season coming ahead for Ohtani. Year 2 already with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Got to enjoy every second with it, because time will fly. But thank goodness that they've got Shohei Ohtani under contract for a very, very long time. And He's going to have a baby this season. So big things in the Ohtani household. One big update that we got earlier this afternoon surrounds the Dodgers superstar pitcher Roki Sasaki. A lot of people have been wondering, when is Roki going to make his spring training debut for the Dodgers? And finally, we get an announcement that Roki Sasaki is going to debut in a spring training game setting for the Dodgers on Tuesday against the Cincinnati Reds. What's a little bit interesting about the debut is Roki Sasaki will not be starting the game, but however, will be coming out of the bullpen in a piggyback role with Dodgers ace Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So Yamamoto is expected to go 3 to 4 innings, and then Roki Sasaki in a bullpen role is going to go 3 to 4 innings. I'm not really sure the thought process behind here. When you kind of think about ahead to the Tokyo series, we all kind of thought with the announcement that Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell were going to start the exhibition games in Tokyo with Yoshinobu Yamamoto starting the opening day of the 2025 season, leaving game two to none other than Roki Sasaki. And I still do think that is going to be the case. I guess I would still pencil in Sasaki as the game two opener slash starter. But I think we have to kind of expect some restrictions with Roki Sasaki. I don't think you can expect 5 to 6 innings out of the gate with this guy. I think the Dodgers are going to have a pretty strict pitch count. I think they're going to be really tight on his innings, and I don't think they're going to hesitate to pull him the second he's in any jam. And I think the Dodgers are perfectly comfortable going with a long man piggyback guy out of the bullpen, which is going to maybe make the roles and the opportunities present themselves for guys like a Dustin May, which we'll talk about more about him and his performance today. Landon Knack, another great example of a guy he's a major league pitcher at this point. What's the point of having Landon Knack down in AAA? Landon Knack should be a major league pitcher at this stage in his career. He's 27. He should be up there at the big league level. I think the Dodgers probably find a way to get Landon Knack some innings early on, and it probably could be in a length role out of the bullpen. Ben Kasparius, another guy that was a very late comer to the Dodgers 2024 roster, but ended up pitching some significant innings in the postseason. Ben Kasparius, another guy that I could see the Dodgers bringing out of the bullpen in a piggyback role. Ben Kasparius touched 99 miles per hour in his most recent spring training outing. I didn't think Ben Kasparius had that in him. But if he can throw 99 miles per hour and he's going to be a reliever for the Dodgers, well, then you certainly got my attention, Ben Kasparius. So I want to see more of that. I think Ben Kasparius has a legitimate case to be part of the Dodgers opening day roster. So you got Landon Knack, Kasparius, and potentially Dustin May or Tony Gonsolin. And we've seen Jack Dreyer throw some spring training innings as well and has looked overall like a pretty good pitcher. And he's on the 40-man roster. So we should see the lefty and Jack Dreyer probably pitch some innings for the Dodgers at some point this season. But I wanted to also go back to this most recent game Friday evening against the Angels. Dalton Rushing had his first big Dodgers moment. And I know it's spring training and we won't remember it 10 years from now, but it's good to see a guy like Dalton Rushing, considered the Dodgers' top hitting prospect, come through in a big moment, hit a 2-run walk-off double for the Dodgers today. And I think that speaks volume to the type of clutch hitter and just potent hitter that Dalton Rushing has a chance to be when he gets his opportunity for the Dodgers. I don't buy the narrative, or I don't buy the theory out there that the Dodgers roster is full right now, so you might as well flip Dalton Rushing while his value is still high. I'm willing to roll the dice, kind of like they did with a Diego Cartaya, and give this guy an opportunity. It seems like Dalton Rushing is going to actually be a much better baseball player than what unfortunately happened with Diego Cartaya. I think Dalton Rushing is going to eventually get the reins as the Dodgers starting catcher. It may take another full season or 2 seasons, but I think you got to find a way to start to integrate Dalton Rushing into this Dodgers franchise. Maybe not opening day, could come mid-season. If an injury were to happen to a Will Smith or an Austin Barnes, I think Dalton Rushing's got to be the first guy called up. Um, Assuming it's not in April or May, then maybe you have a better case for Hunter Fiducia being the instant call up. But if we're in June or July and they need to put Will Smith on the IL for 15 days or 30 days, and Dalton Rushing is looking like a pretty good hitter and he's getting the job done in AAA, then I think you got to give Dalton Rushing that plane ticket and that plane ride over from Oklahoma City to Los Angeles. I think the future is very bright for Dalton Rushing. And I love that he hit a scorching 115-mile-per-hour walk-off double for the Dodgers. We got Moose 1032 in the chat. What's going on, Moose? Good to see you. How you doing? Matty Man 5 Dodge. That was a big win, regardless of it only being spring training. Absolutely agree with you, Matty Man. I mean, even though it's an exhibition game at the end of the day, you still want to see the Dodgers take advantage of these opportunities because they're good simulations and they're good practice for what's ahead, which will be a very long, very battle tested, and a very, very, very tough 2025 season ahead. The first month for the Dodgers, they've got some tough games out of the gate. They got the Tigers, who just made the playoffs. They got the Braves. They got the Phillies. And every team is going to be gunning for the Dodgers harder than ever because the Dodgers are the reigning World Series champions. And these teams are going to get up to face the Dodgers because they want to prove that they can battle and hang with the best of the best. And so I'm expecting all season long to see these opposing teams' best pitchers and guys bringing their A game, unexpected bats showing up in series. So it's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a tough season, and the emotions may run high some games. But yeah, I encourage everyone to drop questions below in the chat if you got questions. If you're hanging out in the live stream, do me a big favor, hit that like button, share the episode with your friends, get people in here that want to ask questions and talk some Dodgers. I'm here to talk about anything you guys want to cover, but I've got an agenda that I'm going to continue to run through in the meantime. I wanted to talk about Hae-Sung Kim, a guy that I had pretty high expectations to going into spring training. Not the expectations where I thought he was going to be scorching the ball, tearing the cover off the ball, and hitting over 300. But I got to say, I'm a little disappointed with Kim's spring training performance early on. We're talking about a guy that I believe hit around 326 in the KBO league last season. Now he's coming over to the Dodgers where the expectations aren't sky high, but I think there are some expectations that this guy should be somewhat of a contact hitter. And I've thrown it out there a few times. I'd be happy if he hits between 230 and 250 this upcoming season. But so far this spring training for Hae-Sung Kim, he's 1 for 14, which equates to an 071 batting average. And maybe what's got me the most disappointed right now is that he's got 7 strikeouts. He's striking out 50% of the time. And for a guy that was known for being a contact hitter, didn't strike out a lot in Korea, was able to put the ball in play. It's a little concerning early on that this guy with Kim is just looking overmatched, like Matty Man is dropping in the comment section below. And like Moose is pointing out as well, he just looks a little lost at the plate. Maybe he's in his head just a bit. There's definitely a big pickup in competition and skill level going from Korea to Major League Baseball. It's no coincidence that you see a lot of scrubs who get absolutely shelled in Major League Baseball go over to Korea, and only a few select of them actually go on to have somewhat successful careers. I think even at the hitters perspective, Matt Davidson, if you remember that name, Matt Davidson was a spring training walk-on for the Dodgers just a few years ago. And I do believe he had a few spring training home runs, but he certainly didn't do enough to warrant himself a big league roster spot. He goes over to Japan puts up pretty pedestrian numbers, maybe had home runs in the low teens, not a great batting average, struck out a lot. So even at Japan, he wasn't a very effective hitter. And then Matt Davidson goes to the KBO, and I think he led the entire sport or the entire league last season with like 41 home runs or some ballooned inflated number. I think he was able to get up to 40 home runs, maybe high 30s. At the end of the day, I'm pretty sure I have that right. That Matt Davidson just went nuclear in KBO, a guy that was basically a scrub and a journeyman early on in his Major League Baseball career. And Nick Martinez, another guy who's one of the rare exceptions, struggled at first in America, went over to Korea, I believe. Hopefully it was Korea, not Japan. But nonetheless, Nick Martinez came over and has turned his career around. And so with Roki Sasaki, clearly it's going to take him some time to adjust. And I thought he was almost a lock to make the big league roster, but I did say with kind of a disclosure with my statements, if he's just going to look god awful and struggle at the plate this spring, then you got to send him down to AAA. And unfortunately, early on, he still got about 2.5 weeks or so to turn it around. Kim just does not look ready to be a part of a Major League Baseball roster. And so you got to do him that favor, send him down to AAA so we can find his swing, gain some confidence, and then you can call him up when his bat and the adjustments are there. But if Kim is not now the Dodgers' second baseman, that leaves an opening for the spot because they traded Gavin Lux earlier this offseason. Kike Hernandez is not a guy that I would expect the Dodgers to put in an everyday role. And I'm pretty sure Dave Roberts was quoted multiple times already this offseason about what they plan to do with Kike Hernandez because they want to use Kike Hernandez in a utility role. And that's seems pretty transparent and pretty obvious to me that is always going to be what Kike's role is with the Dodgers. And Kike's not an everyday guy. If you make him an everyday guy, well, you got a 220 regular season hitter in your lineup. And that doesn't seem very attractive either for the Dodgers. What's going on, Daniel Sperry Sports Highlights? Glad to see you in here. It is a great night for LA. We purposely waited for the Lakers and Clippers game to end because that was a fiery battle. I'm all about that game. Luka Doncic is my boy. He went off tonight on his birthday, and Lakers get a nice win. Dodgers get a win. Good night for LA. Sorry if you're a Clippers fan. Oh, and the Rams had a big win too because they get to retain Matthew Stafford and they re-signed Alaric Jackson. So what a big day for LA. Sorry for those that were hoping to get Matthew Stafford, but he belongs to the Rams, and we're going to try to win a Super Bowl this upcoming season because we were the closest team to taking down the Philadelphia Eagles. And those are just the facts. So with Kim going down potentially with the way things are looking right now, naturally, I think you got to make Tommy Edman the Dodgers' second baseman. Because if you keep Tommy Edman in center field, then who you got? Chris Taylor, Kike, Mookie Betts is the shortstop. I don't think Miguel Rojas is going to be the Dodgers' opening day second baseman. So this is where things kind of take a little bit of a twist and a little bit of a turn. All of a sudden now, there's an opening again for Andy Pages to prove himself as the Dodgers center fielder. And by the way things sound, if the season were to start tomorrow, I think Andy Pages may be the Dodgers center fielder, which is kind of a shocking statement because so far he has not looked good defensively in that position. I was hoping he would make some strides forward, but he seems to not have really improved yet. So he's kind of a liability out there defensively in center field. The bat is starting to pick up a little bit, so I'm happy in that regard, but we might be seeing it right now. Andy Pages in center field, Tommy Edman in second base, because you're not going to give the center field job to James Outman. And they gave James Outman a very, very fair opportunity this spring training. They've given Outman a number of starts. They've given him plenty of at-bats. But so far, James Outman hasn't really impressed me this spring. And I love James Outman. Still a chance for him to maybe win the job. But this was an open competition. They said this. James Outman, Andy Pages, Hye-Sung Kim, all going for the center field job. And it's just one of those cases right now where the best worst performer might come away with this job because Kim's struggling, Outman's struggling, and Pages is looking somewhat decent. So you might have to just go with Andy Pages by default. David Bodie is going to make a strong case for himself. If David Bodie could play some center field, he might have a real legitimate shot of already being on this roster right now. But I believe David Bodie is only limited to being an infielder. And I don't know if the Dodgers want to roll with another right-handed bat as the infielder, because then you're just looking at a bunch of right-handed bats for your infield depth and not a whole lot of left-handed options. And I think that's why, for me specifically, I'm pulling for Kim because he is a left-handed bat. So it gives the Dodgers a little bit of that platoon advantage. But right now, with Outman struggling, you got to potentially rely on the right-handed bat and Andy Pages. So maybe the Dodgers kind of reevaluate things and they pull off a surprise trade right before the season starts and they acquire a center fielder. But I don't know right now. This is why there's actually some interesting storylines going on with the Dodgers this spring training, because initially it seemed like everything was almost near locks and you could figure things out, but there's been some injuries lately. There's been some slow performers. So there actually is some open competition. So let's see what we've got going on in the chat. We've got Ran Matendo 77. They need to investigate these refs in the Lakers game. They must have had a huge bet on the Clippers to win. We're going to stick with baseball, but obviously I appreciate the question. And the Lakers, it wouldn't be the first time the Lakers have been screwed over by poor officiating. Boost 1032, as a Raiders fan, my sorrow never ends. The Raiders are just a disaster of a franchise. I feel sorry for you, Moose, because the Raiders have a very good fan base and ownership continues to just mess with those fans. MWG checking in. What's going on, MWG? Thank you for tuning in. And again, hit that like button, drop some questions for me, and we'll answer any questions you guys got. We've talked about Kim already in deep, so we're going to move on now to Dustin May. Dustin May started for the Dodgers today, and some good news. There was some good and some bad with Dustin May. The good, Dustin May was able to top out at 97 miles per hour in his start against the Angels earlier this evening. And that would definitely be a tick up in velocity because in his first appearance, he was 94, 95. Today, he got up to 97, hit that milestone a few times, and he looked really good in that first inning. He got a couple strikeouts, threw a scoreless frame, hit 97, and then the second inning rolled around, and it was a completely different Dustin May out there. He loaded up the bases, and he gave up a grand slam. And giving up a grand slam sucks and all, but when you give up a grand slam to Joe Adell, one of the bigger busts in more recent memory, a guy that the Angels acted like was going to be their next Justin Upton, and Joe Adell has looked just horrible for the Angels pretty much the entire duration of his career so far. That guy takes Dustin May deep. I don't like that. So early on in the battle for that final spot, you've got Bobby Miller, who only made that one appearance, got hit in the head. We'll see him probably throw again in some live action soon. Tony Gonsolin's looked like the best of the three. Came out of the bullpen just the other night, threw a couple scoreless innings, and he had very good command of his pitches. And then you got Dustin May trying to vie for that rotation spot too. But gave up a grand slam today. I still have some question marks about the durability with Dustin May. Can this guy last a full season? He has not earned my trust so far. It's just so many injuries that have plagued his career. His career high in innings is 56, and that was back in 2020, the shortened season, ironically, where he had a 2.57 ERA for the Dodgers, but a 4.62 FIP, but did help them pitch some postseason innings as well. And since then, it's just been a lot of injuries for Dustin May. And I still think a guy like Dustin May, his stuff may play better coming out of the bullpen or a piggyback role, or keep his innings down for as long as you can so that he can get over the hump and actually be healthy past the month of May for once. So I beg the Dodgers to find a way to get this guy healthy. I think you could turn him into the next Daniel Hudson or the next Jimmy Nelson, but maybe Dustin May is adamant and demands to be a starter. I like this suggestion from Ran Nintendo 77. There's still an option for the Dodgers to trade for Luis Robert, and I wouldn't be surprised if the White Sox deal him at some point this season. Maybe they don't do it before opening day, but I'm sure when we swing around the deadline yet again, Luis Robert's name will be out there on the trade block. And if the Dodgers feel like they need that center field position, I'm sure they'll be checking in because the Dodgers have a pretty good relationship with the White Sox. They both share the same spring training facility out there in Camelback Ranch, and they've made some big trades with each other the last few seasons. They traded AJ Pollock for Craig Kimbrell. They traded Nick Nastrini for Joe Kelly and Lance Lynn. And last season, they traded Miguel Vargas and some prospects to get Tommy Edman from the Cardinals and Michael Kopech from the White Sox. And the White Sox, we should send them a gift basket because they seem to be helping the Dodgers a lot these days. So thank you, Chicago White Sox, for your contributions, especially with Michael Kopech. Tommy Edman hit a home run for the Dodgers. That was good to see. Love seeing Tommy Edman start to get things going. He was kind of off to a slow start this spring. And for a guy like Tommy Edman, who didn't even play in spring training last season, he already proved himself. He doesn't need a full season to become an NLCS MVP. So I'm perfectly comfortable with Tommy Edman slow playing himself and picking it up as the season goes along. But it's still nice to see Tommy Edman go deep for the Dodgers in a spring training game. I'm excited about him in a full year with the Dodgers. He's one of those just kind of chippy contact hitters, tends to hit better from the right side of the plate, but did go yard tonight as a left-handed hitter. So that's a good sign. Maybe Tommy Edman will have more even splits as a switch hitter for the Dodgers. We've got Pages looking passable in right field. Comment in the chat. Absolutely. Andy Pages is a very plus elite defender in right field, but the Dodgers don't need a right fielder at this moment in time because they're going to give that spot to Teoscar Hernandez. Michael Conforto will be in left field. But if Conforto, who I think of those two hitters between Teoscar and Conforto, if Conforto were to struggle and have to get benched at some point this season, then it may make sense to move Teoscar to left field. You put Andy Pages in right field, and now all of a sudden you're talking about a pretty elite defensive right fielder out there with a good arm. You don't get Mookie Betts anymore. Mookie Betts wants to play shortstop. It's always going to be a little sad thinking about Mookie Betts because he's arguably top 2, top 3 defensive right fielder still in Major League Baseball. But he's up to the challenge. He wants to prove he's an elite shortstop, and the Dodgers have given him that spot. So Mookie Betts will be the shortstop for the Dodgers. We talked about Ben Kasperius hitting 99 miles per hour. Shout out to Matt Sauer and Sam Carlson, 2 minor league guys for the Dodgers that have looked pretty good too so far in a few spring training innings that they've been able to throw. Freddie Freeman was able to take his first spring training at-bats in Thursday's action, had a single. Freddie Freeman's an interesting case right now because the Dodgers have been kind of keeping it under the radar with how healthy he truly is. You're seeing some reports out there suggesting that the way things are looking right now, Freddie Freeman could potentially not be on the opening day Japan roster because he's not fully healed. Then you've got comments from Freddie Freeman himself saying he'll absolutely be there and be in the lineup. The issue right now is you've got your one DH. It's Shohei Ohtani. You would love to have Freddie Freeman start the season as the Dodgers DH, but you can't because you've got Shohei Ohtani, a good problem to have. If Freddie Freeman's ankle truly isn't fully healed, or it's still healing, I guess, Is it very wise for the Dodgers to run him out there early and risk a re-aggravation or a potential another injury? I don't know if that risk is worth it because Freddie Freeman is a guy that you want to have at full strength, and you want to obviously have him healthy in October because it's miraculous what he did in the World Series, all things considered, with all the injuries, and he still was the World Series MVP. But we know what Freddie Freeman's like when he's at full health. Pretty good defensive first baseman, a guy that was going to flirt with 300 batting average, can lead the league in doubles any season. And you want that guy healthy for the Dodgers. And it's probably not worth rushing him into these games in late March and early April. And if Freeman can't play first base, does he just stick to being a pinch hitter role? Maybe that's what we see with Freddie Freeman early on. With if he doesn't want to go on the IL, Freeman might have to be a pinch hitter. And I think that's why you're kind of seeing the Dodgers toy around right now with different infielders playing first base. We saw Miguel Rojas get in on some first base action. We've seen Kike Hernandez play some first base for the Dodgers. You've got David Bodie who can play some first base for the Dodgers. So they've been playing it around a little bit. You also got Max Muncy on the roster. You could very well move Max Muncy over to first base and then figure out who's your third baseman. You've got the same guys I just mentioned. You can get very creative here, but it is an interesting storyline. Where is Freeman's health currently at? I don't know if it's worth really risking re-aggravation. The Dodgers have the luxury right now. They have so much depth, perfectly comfortable giving him as much time as needed to fully heal. In other news, former Dodger Zach Rex, very, very brief stint at the major league level with the Dodgers, did not pan out, had to go on to eventually, I think he played in Japan, but Zach Rex is back with the Dodgers now as a minor league hitting coach. So good for Zach Rex. Good to see him get a second opportunity, this time in a coaching role, a guy that has gone through the flames of being a minor league hitter, and to his credit, wrecked at that level. No pun intended. Just couldn't pan out at the big league level. So good for Zach Rex. So that's really all I got, other than the last big subject. So if there's any questions you guys want to drop below in the chat, feel free to drop them right now. Very quiet night. No surprise, it is Friday night after all, and the Lakers did just come off a big win. But I'll give you guys a couple minutes to get those questions in if anyone has some questions. Otherwise, we'll get to Nestor Cortes, who is early candidate right now for Idiot of the Year. So Nestor Cortes, when asked recently, and I'm pulling it up right now, what he exactly said verbatim. So this is from Fox Sports MLB. In the 2024 World Series between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees, the better team lost. At least that's what former Yankees pitcher Nestor Cortes believes. Quote, "They can talk whatever they want to talk, but we win game 1, which we should have. We lost game 2 and 3. We win game 4, and we should have won game 5. Then we go back to LA up 3-2. So people can say it slipped away from us. People can say we made a lot of mistakes, which we did. But at the end of the day, we were the better team." Reminder, this is coming from Nestor Cortes, the guy that pitched game 1 of the World Series and was the guy that gave up the walk-off grand slam to Freddie Freeman out of the bullpen. And yet, the guy who it's really his fault the Yankees lost wants to go out there and say, well, they were the better team and they should have won. Well, then go get those 27 outs, you bum. The Yankees couldn't wait to trade your ass till Milwaukee. They pretty much did it instantly once the offseason began, because you've got so much stink, so much bad memories. No Yankees fan ever wants to look at you again. So you get to go out there, rot in Milwaukee now, a team that's probably going to be a cellar dweller for the next 2 to 3 years. And by the time they're relevant again, you won't be on the team. So you want to talk the talk, then you better back it up with your play because you got absolutely rocked in the World Series. Of the three matchups that the Dodgers had between the Padres, who, let's give them credit, they were the toughest of the bunch. Then you had the New York Mets. The Mets were definitely a surprise to reach the NLCS, but they were also arguably the hottest team in baseball at the time, and they played tremendously in the second half. They took down the Phillies. I could argue because they took the Dodgers to 6 as well. The New York Mets were a tougher matchup than these New York Yankees. Aaron Judge looked awful in this World Series. He constantly struck out. They were carried by Giancarlo Stanton. Let's be real. The corpse of Giancarlo Stanton, who just sleepwalks in the regular season, all of a sudden woke up and started carrying them in this World Series, which he seems to do basically his entire career. He's just a beast in October. Their pitching was so mediocre. We rocked Carlos Rodon. That was the most obvious thing in the world. One of the most overrated pitchers in the sport. Clark Schmidt had no chance in hell. Of course, we were going to rock him. They won their one game, but who gives a shit? We beat the Yankees in 5. So Nestor Cortes, you're delusional. You're an idiot. And you're no longer a Yankee. So you can just shut up. You have no reason to even back the Yankees anymore because they traded your ass, as a reminder. And you've got no World Series ring to show for it. So if you were an all-star, if you were a Hall of Famer, I may have more respect to your comments, but you're a middle of the line, one hit wonder pitcher. And I think that's all you're ever going to be. So shut up, Nestor. Today, you're a loser until proven otherwise. Question from Ran Matendo 77. Will you make it to the Tokyo series in Japan? No. Simple answer to that. I don't even know what the prices are to get in the door. I'm sure they're outrageous, but I get it. If you live in Japan, it's definitely very exclusive, maybe even a once in a life opportunity to see Shohei Ohtani play in person in a Dodgers uniform. Roki Sasaki, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shota Imanaga. I get it. Probably well worth it for locals of Japan. For someone like myself, I don't see the appeal to fly across the world to go to Japan to watch a baseball game when I can do that here in Los Angeles at a better stadium in better weather. If you're dying to go to Japan and you're dying to make a trip out of it to go see Tokyo, Kyoto, etc., that makes a lot more sense if you're going to make a legit trip out of it and go see the culture and all that. But if you're just going there for that series and then going back, I don't know if that's worth it. I don't know if that's worth the time. I don't know if that's worth the money. If you're going there to experience the culture and make a trip out of it, that's one thing. If you're going there just for those games and those games alone, then you're either rich or you're just very committed and you're more committed to me. So kudos to you. We've got BC in the house making some comments here below. Let's see what he's got to say. BC saying they should have swept, them being the Dodgers, even with 2.5 pitchers. That's how inferior their aging players were. Absolutely. And yeah, if Tyler Glasnow was healthy for the World Series, it would have been a sweep. It's just amazing what the Dodgers were able to do without a Gavin Stone, who revealed today that he got the shoulder capsule surgery. I think it's similar to what Julio Urias got all the way back in 2016, 2017. Missed some time. So Gavin Stone's got a pretty big journey ahead. He's basically getting a full new shoulder. So sending the best wishes to him for that healthy recovery. But if the Dodgers had Stone, Tyler Glasnow, they would have just steamrolled this competition. So we got handicapped and we still won. And Shohei Ohtani wasn't really even healthy in the World Series. And yet the offense woke up, scored those 5 runs in the game 5. So just a true testament to the depth that Andrew Freeman, Brandon Gomes assembled They had Freddie Freeman hurt the entire postseason, got hurt basically the very, very end of the season. Almost shades of Max Muncy in 2021 when Jace Peterson tore his UCL by running into Muncy. Fortunately for us, this go around, the ankle, significant injury, but at least Freddie Freeman was still able to swing the bat. Because if we didn't have Shohei healthy and we lost Freeman for that entire series, the Yankees may have come out on top. Aaron Attic here saying hello, Kevin. That was my first ever spring training game earlier tonight. Ohtani and Edmund homer. Not a bad evening at all. Oh, absolutely. What an awesome game. What a fire game for you to get to go to, Aaron Attic. That's just awesome right there. Literally wire to wire game. And you got the best of everything. You got the Ohtani home run. You got a Dalton Rushing walk-off. You got to see some fun pitchers. So good stuff right there. Glad you had a good time. Dropping below the Discord link for those that want to join our Dodgers chat Discord, where we are constantly talking Dodgers, as well as other miscellaneous sports going on. So highly encourage anyone to join the Dodgers Discord channel. And we're coming up to where I kind of wanted to conclude the evening. So if we don't have any other questions or comments below in the chat, then I think that's it for now. So appreciate everyone tuning in. If you're watching the show post live stream, which most of you will be doing, drop a comment below in the chat of who you think makes the Dodgers opening day roster between Andy Pages, Hae-Sung Kim, James Outman, David Bodie. I think it might only be one of those guys. Who do you like more between Tony Gonsolin and Dustin May? And for those listening on the audio feed, like I said, you get the Derek Carty interview right now. You can watch the Derek Carty interview on YouTube as well. We've got a shout out from Aaron Attic talking about TickPick. So they are a very easy site to get tickets. So glad you had a good experience with TickPick, proud sponsor of the Inclined Dodgers. But yeah, just quick little shout outs right now. Had an episode with Steven Nelson, broadcaster of the Dodgers. Highly recommend you guys going back to listen to that interview. He goes into very good depth of his behind the scenes perspective. Remember, he got to call the Freddie Freeman walk-off grand slam himself on the radio. He talked about his favorite Dodgers moments. And you're going to want to hit that subscribe button and hit the notifications because we're going live Monday night right now, scheduled for 9 p.m. Pacific. We've got another MLB insider coming on the show, and it's a first time appearance for this MLB insider. So we'll keep it a surprise for right now. But this guy has been breaking news all off season. And I think he's going to start to make a pretty big name for himself in the industry. So stay tuned for that. Should be a good interview ahead with this surprise MLB insider. But thank you guys for all watching. Everyone have a good weekend, and you'll see us very soon. Month of March is just hours away. All right, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Inclined Dodgers podcast. Go Dodgers.